Who was that old man? The young soldiers laughed. Flannel shirt, worn jeans, ordinary cap. They called him a retired trucker. Then he saw the tattoo on his arm. Blood froze. Breath stopped. Because that tattoo was earned, not bought. Where did you serve? Silence. Then just two numbers. 6674. And in that moment, everyone realized. This man was the legend they thought was dead. That's how it all began. An ordinary morning, an ordinary range, an ordinary-looking old man. But the truth was anything but ordinary. And if stories like this move you too, if you want to remember forgotten heroes, hit that subscribe button, because this story has just begun, and Martin's secret runs much deeper. He came every morning at 6:45. Even though the range opened at 7, he always arrived early, waiting silently. He never spoke, just signed the logbook. Martin, last name only, no rank, no greeting. He wore the same clothes every time. Faded jeans, beige flannel shirt with sleeves rolled to the elbows, and a brown baseball cap that had once been blue. No patches, no slogans. The cap's brim was curved just enough to shade his eyes. His bag always carried the same contents: single pistol case, one box of .45 caliber rounds, and an old thermos he never let out of his sight. He never brought extra, never left anything behind. The other shooters called him Pops, or the old guy. Most thought he was a retired trucker with too much time. They joked about how he only shot 30 rounds before leaving, but the staff noticed something different. The way he moved, how he checked his surroundings, how his eyes lingered not on the paper target but on the metal behind it, as if measuring wind that wasn't even there. He never flinched, never wasted a bullet, never picked up his brass. Most people wouldn't notice, but the few who knew what to look for, they noticed. That morning the range was busier than usual. A group of young Navy personnel had come in, off-duty, full of jokes, confident. One of them, tall and lean with short hair and a trident emblem on his gym bag, set up 2 lanes over from Martin. At first he didn't pay attention, just another civilian. But then he heard it, the rhythm. Not the sound, not the recoil, the pattern. 3 shots, reset. 2 shots, reset. All tight, all calculated, no wasted motion. Jared glanced sideways. The old man's grip was textbook, his stance perfect. He wasn't reacting to the gun, he was controlling it. Martin stood up, stretched his back and zipped his range bag. Jared instinctively stepped aside. A few other shooters looked over, curious now, quiet now. As Martin was leaving, Jared did something rare. He snapped to attention. No joke, no sarcasm, just respect. Martin stopped, turned back and placed something in Jared's hand. A coin. Heavy. Real. One side bore the 1st Recon insignia. The other side had a single word. Still here. Then he leaned in, voice low. You'll know when it's your time to go quiet. Until then, earn it. And then he left. No salute, no handshake. Just a man disappearing into the morning sun. The next day Jared began researching. Most names were redacted. Some dates were deliberately wrong. But finally, in a Mac v. SOG log, he found it. Staff Sergeant Thomas Martin, 1st Recon, Laos. March 6th extraction under fire, 7 recovered, refused medevac, wounded twice. Declined award recommendation. The note read, asset considered irreplaceable, now silent. The following week when Martin returned, everything was different. Jared had arrived early, 3 from his team waiting with him. They didn't speak as Martin passed, just stood a little straighter, gave a nod. When Martin finished his setup, Jared approached and offered him a fresh box of ammo. I figured 30 rounds wouldn't be enough today, he said. For the first time, Martin gave a nod that lasted more than half a second. In the following weeks, an atmosphere of respect formed around Martin. The young men called him Sir, passed by quietly. One day Jared asked, ever think about teaching? Martin, wiping his thermos rim with a cloth, I've spent 30 years trying to forget everything I teach, he said. But some of us need to remember, Jared said. You don't teach this, Martin said. You absorb it, quietly, over time. The range staff made a small change. They screwed a small brass plate above lane 7. It didn't say hero, didn't say legend, didn't even say recon. It just read, lane reserved, until he says otherwise. Martin never asked who put it there and never asked for it to be removed. Real warriors don't advertise. They wait until someone is wise enough to notice how they move, how they stand, how they matter without needing to be seen. Martin didn't need a biography, didn't need applause. All he needed was that one soldier wise enough to look beneath the surface and ask the right question. Jared decided to look closer. As Martin reloaded, Jared caught sight of the tattoo on his forearm. Faded, sun-bleached, but unmistakable. This wasn't a tattoo. It hadn't come from a tattoo parlor. It was from a time when tattoos were earned, not designed. "Excuse me, sir," Jared said. "That ink on your arm, that's 1st Recon, isn't it?" The old man didn't turn, didn't smile. He fired his final perfect shot, slowly set the pistol down, and finally looked into Jared's eyes. His answer came without a smile. Once. Just once. Jared knew what that answer meant. It wasn't a dismissal, it was something heavier, like a door cracked open just enough to say, "Don't push it." "What years did you serve?" Jared asked. 66 to 74, Martin said. "Recon, Southeast Asia." Jared swallowed. This was exactly what he'd thought. That tattoo wasn't just ink. It was from Marine 1st Recon, forward units, deep operations, black radio silence type missions, the kind where names didn't go home, where files were lost on purpose. "Were you in Laos?" Jared asked. Martin gave a half nod. "Among other places." From that moment, the volume at the range seemed to fade, not literally but in feeling, as if a quiet corridor had formed around Lane 7. Jared asked, "Did you ever work with SEALs?" Martin allowed himself the faintest smile. "Back then, we all did a little of everything. You swam, you survived, or you didn't." "Sir," Jared said, "my CO told us about an operation in 1971, Deep Jungle Recovery Op. The guy leading extraction was wounded but carried 2 men out under fire, said it was classified for years." Martin didn't blink. A lot of things were classified for years. The most powerful stories don't shout. They wait. Martin never told war stories, never raised his voice, never asked for thanks. He came, shot 30 rounds, left. He made more impact than most men who talk for hours. He never needed to prove anything. Not to the range, not to the young men beside him, not to the generation that forgot to ask. But when one of them finally looked close enough to see the truth beneath his sleeve, the silence broke. That's what real warriors do. They don't advertise, they wait. They wait for someone to be wise enough to notice them. And from that moment on, every round he fired taught more than any lecture could. Is one that he would piece and crazy. So have you ever met someone like Martin? A veteran who never bragged, never boasted, just stood quietly, carried history in his hands and let time forget until someone remembered. Because the most powerful stories don't shout, they wait. And sometimes, all we need to notice them is to look close enough. When you see an old man at a range, loading slowly, standing alone, watch his stance. You might be standing next to a legend.